My dad texted me on Friday, a little after 10 o'clock, saying that he needs to go to the emergency room, that he's having a medical emergency. I'm going to flash his text message on the screen right here if you don't believe me. So immediately, I'm like, what happened? Are you okay? What's going on? I will be right over in about a minute. My dad lives about 5 minutes away from me, if that. So I race over to his house. He's coming downstairs through the garage door. He just about closed the door. He forgot something. He had to go back upstairs. He was moving very slow. I can tell something was wrong, but I didn't get the full story from him yet. So he gets in the vehicle, he gets into my truck. He says he's having a medical emergency. He needs to go to the hospital right away. He tried calling 911, but accidentally kept trying to call me. And I did see some missed phone calls. Usually my phone shuts off about 9:15. I try and give myself 45 minutes to decompress before I go to bed, which is usually at 10 o'clock. But I happen to be on my phone, and I am so lucky I was on my phone because I was able to intercept his message, his text message to me, and I did miss his phone call, but I was able to get him through text, thank God. So anyway, he was telling me in the truck on the way over to Reading Hospital. I took him to Reading Hospital, which is the closest hospital to our location. He doesn't prefer that hospital. He likes a hospital that's further away, but due to the nature of the emergency, I was taking him to the closest hospital. So he was telling me that his stomach was hurting him really bad and that he had really bad stomach pains and he needed to go to the hospital right away. So we are racing to the hospital. We get to Reading Hospital, and yes, I'm going to put Reading Hospital on blast. So if anybody from Tower Health is watching this, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. I needed to give myself some time before I made this video to collect my thoughts because I wanted to say it in a way that made sense to my viewers. And I want to say it in a way that made sense to anybody else who may be watching this. But, okay. All right, here we go. So we got to the hospital. We got to the emergency room. We got to the emergency department, rather, around 10:30 or so. I think it was like around 10:40 or something like that. We walk in. We go to the front desk. I have to, of course, in the height of the emergency, right? He's the patient. He gets to walk right through, but I have to check in. I have to take my keys out of my pocket. I have to take my cell phone out of my pocket. I got to take my watch off. Any jewelry, anything like that has to go in the bin, and they have to send it through the x-ray machine for security purposes. And I get it. I said, my dad's having an emergency. I need to get in here. He's like, we'll get you in as quick as possible. Take everything out, threw it in the bin, went through the scanner. And I walked through the metal detectors because they have metal detectors at the emergency room. They wand me. I was fine. I got all my stuff. I met my dad on the other side. He was already talking to the person, to check him in, which, well, I thought they were checking him in. This is where shit gets really foggy and messed up. So he walks in. He says, I'm the patient. I'm having really bad stomach pains. I really need to see somebody right away. So he sits down. I stand next to him. They ask who I am. I say, I'm his son. I'm his next of kin. I am on the list for the emergency. Through the Tower Health system, I am listed, the next person. I'm the only person listed on there as far as I know for emergency contact. So they ask me who I am. They say, okay, yes, we have your information on file. Is your phone number, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yes. They ask him exactly what's going on. He had said he was having a medical condition. His stomach was bothering him. I'm not going to go into, exactly what it was, for his privacy and for, HIPAA privacy and so forth. I'm not going to say exactly what it was. But anyway, they went through everything, and they said, okay, we'll get somebody to see you as soon as possible. This is where it gets really messed up. I just want to curse and say things that I'm going to regret, and I'm not going to do that. So they say, have a seat. There's like 4 or 5 different bays, or like little glass rooms that you have to sit in, right? So I think it was around 11:45 or something like that, or something. I think it was like 11:45, closer to 12. Might have been after 12. My phone's dying. His phone's dying. Keep in mind, I got done work around 5:30, so I usually don't charge my phone until that very night. And I plug it in, and it's nice and ready to go, fully charged the next day. My phone was probably about 30%. His phone was about 50%. So I'm trying to text everybody saying I don't know what's going on. Nobody's seen him yet. They called him up and they checked him in, which I thought was a check-in to go see somebody, but man, was I wrong. They called him up. They asked him what was going on. Again, we're going through the same thing again for the second time. They're like, what's going on? He says, I'm having really bad stomach pains. He's sweating really bad. He's holding his stomach. He's in a lot of pain. So they say, okay, we're going to have somebody see you as soon as possible. Again, that was maybe before 12, a little after 12. Keep in mind, I'm not really trying to keep track of time because my phone's dying. I'm really trying to save battery, so I'm really not trying to be on it as much as I want to be on it to try and update everybody within the family what is happening. So we're waiting there, and we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And it was around 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning. Somebody comes out and says, we need to take your dad to have a CAT scan. And I'm like, when is he going to see a doctor? And they said, we don't know. We're taking him down for a CAT scan. Around 3:30, they took him down for a CAT scan. Keep in mind, I'm still waiting. My phone is still dying. His phone is 50%. So I'm like, you know what? Worst case scenario, I have everybody's contacts in his phone. So I will use his phone if I need to use his phone to update as many people as I can. So I think it was around closer to 4 or something like that. They brought him back from the CAT scan. Maybe it took like 20 minutes to a half hour, something like that. They brought him back, and I said, when is he going to be able to see a doctor? They said, we're not really sure. They're like, we don't know. Like, what? Between then and when they took him down, he's sweating really bad, having really, really bad stomach pains, unbearable, and a lot of pain. Had no pain medicine, nothing at all to help relieve his pain at all. It wasn't until about 5:15, 5:30, somebody had come out and said, bring your dad back. We're going to put him in the ER. We're going to examine him. A doctor's going to come in and look at him. 5:15, 5:30. Seriously? Come on. This is uncalled for and ridiculous. We came in the emergency room for an emergency. There was patients coming in by ambulance. And you would think by ambulance, that would mean that your care would be urgent. But no, they were wheeling them in. They were doing the check-in thing or whatever the hell they do. And they were wheeling them back into these little pod rooms. And they had to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. There was a young lady that had came in. It looked like she was a cheerleader, and I think her leg may have been broken or sprained. She was barfing in a barf bag. She was in a lot of pain because of her leg. We still got seen before she did, which was ridiculous. Ridiculous. That's just despicable. Our healthcare system sucks. All right, I'm going to keep going. So around 5:15, 5:30, he goes into the room. A nurse comes in, asks him what is wrong. Again, for the third time, they ask him what's wrong. I'm having really bad stomach pain. He's sweating. I'm trying to give them as much information as I can because he's out of it because he is in so much pain. So it was again around 5:15, 5:30. We're waiting and waiting and waiting. So they came in, they gave, the doctor says he looked over, it was like around 5:30, 5:45, give or take. They said, the doctor says, I looked at your CAT scan, this is what the problem is, blah, 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 blah. I think we're going to keep you. We finally found out around 5:30, 5:45 exactly what was going on. And we got there around 10:40 p.m. Friday night. How ridiculous. So it was about 6 o'clock, 6:15. I'm trying to keep track of all this. I'm trying to make a mental note exactly what's going on. Because you know what? I was like, I'm going to make a video about this because this is ridiculous. Our healthcare system sucks, right? So it was around 6 o'clock, 6:15 or so. The nurse came in and says, we need to move you because the ER is filling up. We have to move you out of here into a different room. So they wheel them a little bit down the hall. I'm following. They're trying to move all these gurneys and all these wheelchairs because it's such a tight quarters. They're trying to turn, make the turn from out of the room. They had to lower the sides so they can go through the doorway. It was ridiculous. It looked like a shit show, honestly. They move him to a different room in the ER. And I said, it was around, 9 or 10 in the morning at that point. And I'm like, on Saturday, I'm like, when are they going to move my dad to a room? They're like, we don't know. We have no idea. I haven't slept yet. He hasn't slept yet. As a matter of fact, I didn't sleep at all until Saturday, until 11 p.m. on Saturday. So I was up all day on Friday. How ridiculous, right? Still not sure when I get in the room. They keep coming in. They keep checking on him. He's still in the ER. I'm like, when is he getting a room? They're like, we don't know. So I went down around 9:30 or so, and I got breakfast at the cafeteria, which, by the way, Reading Hospital, your food is shit. The food is freaking terrible. Anyway, I go back up. I'm looking, my phone's just about dead. I'm turning it off, and I'm turning it on just so I can save battery, so I can text my wife, text my brother, let them know exactly what is going on. And I'm also trying to relax myself, trying to scroll on the internet, trying to do that while my phone's dying in the meantime. Unbelievable. We're sitting there, and we're sitting there, and we're sitting there. It becomes lunchtime. I am mad hungry. He's still in pain. He's still sweating. Still no pain medicine. Nothing. Ridiculous, right? How ridiculous. Unbelievable. So it wasn't about until 3:30 p.m. on Saturday. I'm like, you know what, Dad? I need to go home. I need to wash up. I need to get a shower. I need to see my wife. I need to see my kids. I just need to step away for a little bit, but I'll be back. I promise. Around 3:45 or so p.m. on Saturday, they text, they call me. They send me a text message. His scans went through. This was hours ago. But I didn't get a chance to really look at my phone that much because I kept turning it off and on. I already knew everything that happened that they had updated me on through the text messages in regards to the emergency room. So it was around 3:45, 4 o'clock. A nurse calls me and said, we finally got your dad a room. Keep in mind, I went home 3:30 p.m. We spent 17 hours in the emergency room. How ridiculous is that? 17 hours. Just ridiculous. Right now, it's Thursday. He's still in the hospital. He's in a room. He was admitted. The nurses are doing what they have to do to keep up with his care. But again, Reading Hospital, Tower Health, 17 hours in the emergency room is ridiculous. You should be ashamed of yourself. 17 hours. And the doctor that came in around that time to do his, talk about his CAT scan says that was unacceptable. He said, there's just no nurses working. This is why it took so long. I still can't believe this. 17 hours in an emergency. This could have been life threatening. Maybe they have a priority list of exactly what's going on, whether what symptoms you're having, I don't know. But they didn't know exactly what was going on until they got the CAT scans back. Again, that was between 5 and 6 when we found those results. This could have been something way worse than what it was. I mean, it was bad, but it could have been way worse. 17 hours. I'll catch you in the next one.